Well, let's speak to Mark Regev about this, former ambassador, senior advisor to the Israeli Prime Minister. Mr. Regev, thank you very much for being with us. Why didn't the Rafah crossing open today to allow aid in, and when will it open?
So I hope tomorrow. I'm like the officials you mentioned in the piece before. I'm cautiously optimistic that it can happen tomorrow. It's not easy. Each side has its own needs. For us, the most important thing is that we want to make sure that aid reaches the people of Gaza, the civilian population, and not be siphoned off to aid Hamas's military machine. And President Biden publicly addressed that issue, that we want the aid to go to who it is, the declared recipient, which is, of course, the civilians. We don't want it stolen by Hamas.
You heard the voice from the Egyptian Ministry of Foreign Affairs saying Israel is targeting the Rafah border. It is not their fault it's not open. You said very clearly it's Israel's fault.
We're hoping to find agreements with the other relevant parties. So I'm not sure I want to argue with people on the BBC, but I would say this: Israel is ready for the introduction into Gaza of civilian aid for civilians. We're very clear about that. We don't see the civilian population of Gaza as the target of our strikes. We're striking against Hamas. We will continue to strike against Hamas. But aid for the Gazan civilian population, which is going through a very difficult time, we're in favor of that.
When we talk about aid, and you're saying that, you're hoping that that crossing will be open tomorrow and the aid will start coming in, we're talking just about 20 trucks at the moment. Why so little aid when the need is so clearly so great?
I think because it is complicated, and to be frank, if it was easy, it would have been done already. The reason the sides are still working on it is because there are difficult issues involved. If we succeed with the 20, the working assumption is, and it's more than a working assumption, there are understandings reached between us and the Americans and other parties, is that if we succeed with the 20, then we can go to much larger. That's the goal.
I mean, if aid doesn't get in, it's not just Palestinians who don't get the water, the food, and the aid. You have hostages there. We have some more names, faces, and ages to put to those hostages. What do you know about their well-being so far?
We know that out of the 203 names we have of people kidnapped and taken into Gaza, we know for a fact that more than half of them are alive. And we know, as you mentioned, their ages, the elderly amongst them and the very young amongst them, including a toddler or a baby. So it's very difficult. And I think this just shows us who we're up against here. Hamas is particularly vicious and particularly barbarian, for want of a better word. We saw what they did to us when they crossed our border and attacked and killed our people. We saw what sort of atrocities they committed, and we see that with the way they have kidnapped these hostages,
Have
children.
they have Hamas made an explicit offer to Israel, offering to exchange the hostages for a ceasefire?
Not that I'm aware of, and I think that's Hamas disinformation. And I'll be frank, we're not going to agree to a ceasefire with Hamas. We will destroy Hamas's military machine. Hamas would love a situation where they attack and kill Israelis, they butcher our people, and then, of course, there's a ceasefire. Israel does not hit back. No, that's just a recipe for another round of fighting in 6 months or another Hamas massacre in a year. We want this to end, and this will only end, unfortunately, when the Hamas military machine is dismantled, and that's what we're doing, and we will do so.
Can I just ask you about one statement that came from the Foreign Affairs and Defence Committee? Yoav Gallant said, the Israeli Defence Minister, that once the war with Hamas is over, Israel will bring to an end its responsibility for life in the Gaza Strip. What does he mean by that?
So, as you will recall, in 2005, Israel pulled out of the Gaza Strip. We took down the Israeli settlements that were inside the Strip, and they were all vacated, and we moved back to the 1967 line. There's actually no reason for conflict between Israel and Gaza. There is no so-called occupation. We're not there. Hamas runs Gaza, and they have done so for 16 years. When this is over, Hamas will no longer be in government in Gaza. There'll be something new. And the idea is Israel has pulled out of Gaza, And our intention now is to leave Gaza totally, and that they won't be dependent upon us for as they have been in the past. We want to be wash our hands of Gaza, so to speak.
Mark Regev, thank you.